As for the strikes on the boats, the administration has not offered evidence showing the tie to cartels. George?
Martha.
Yeah, of course, they don't have to. This is the discretion we give the commander-in-chief. We didn't ask Obama to offer any evidence. He was not required to offer any evidence when he was dropping missiles on the heads of American citizens overseas in defense of national security. Oh, I guess 140 Tomahawk cruise missiles, expeditionary package, Iwo Jima amphibious ready group. Those will be Marines, of course, a bunch of aircraft, helicopters, refueling, command and control, other naval assets. So we got a bunch of stuff hanging out there in the region. The amphibious assault ships, of course, are loaded to the gills with angry U.S. Marines, frustrated, unsatisfied U.S. Marines, who I'm sure would love an opportunity to kill America's enemies and blow up their stuff. What the American people don't understand about Venezuela, the entire nation is run by narco-terrorists who rule over the smaller Mexican cartels. They are allies, Venezuela, allies of China and Russia. Venezuela is the tip of the spear in attacks against us in our own hemisphere. Was it the Monroe Doctrine? Said stay out of our hemisphere? Now, I wanted to share this because to me, it's an interesting example of smart stupid. You ever encounter smart stupid? Smart stupid is when you're talking to a guy you know is super smart. They're super smart. And yet they're coming to completely stupid conclusions. And it's because maybe their environment or their kind of worldview, they're running into a form of cognitive dissonance where they're not able to follow a logical train of reasoning to an outcome that makes them uncomfortable. They can't do it. It's like a guy who sees all the clues that his wife is cheating on him, but he mentally, emotionally cannot follow those clues to the logical conclusion that his wife is cheating on him. He'll see clue 1, clue 2, clue 3, clue 10, clue 20, and he'll say, nah, nothing's going on. No objective person looking at that train of reasoning would conclude anything other than his wife is cheating on him. But he's not able to come to that conclusion for emotional reasons. And that is John Yoo. John Yoo's an attorney who's very, very smart. And yet he comes to very, very stupid conclusions. Trump must always be wrong, no matter what else. And let's look at what John has to say here. This is taken from the middle of his article. But the U.S. cannot wage war against any source of harm to Americans. He's objecting to Trump's military action, use of force against Venezuela here. And look at the analogy he picks. Americans have died in car wrecks at an annual rate of 40,000 in recent years. The nation doesn't wage war on auto companies. John, how broken are you? What kind of sense do you think this makes? Auto companies are highly incentivized and do make tremendous efforts to make their cars as safe as possible. They're not intentionally sending lethal cars to us. This is not comparable to a dictator, narco-terrorist state smuggling enough drugs, irregular chemical warfare in America to deliberately kill tens of thousands of Americans each year. These are not the same things, my friend. What's wrong with you? He continues. I mean, obviously, cars, before he continues, cars have a positive utility for society. They're distinguishable from fentanyl, used as a recreational drug. John Yoo continues. American law instead relies upon the criminal justice or civil tort system to respond to broad, persistent social harms. Here he's trying to suggest that if a harm has been broad and persistent, military action is not the correct response. That's your stupid thing. What if weak presidents have allowed a harm that should have been addressed immediately with military force, but they've been weak? So they've allowed that harm to become broad and persistent. That means military force is no longer the appropriate response? That's insane. What if China had invaded our West Coast and every year they took a few hundred miles more of territory and we didn't do anything? Not year 1, not year 5, not year 10. We just let it continue. And then someone like Trump is elected and he's like, F this. Well, we're reversing all of this right now. I'm bringing the American military to bear. And John Yoo would say, no, you can't do that. This has been a broad and persistent problem. The appropriate response is criminal justice. We should prosecute those Chinese, or we should sue them in civil court. John Yoo continues, in war, Nations use extraordinary powers against other nations to prevent future attacks on their citizens and territory. All right? Are there not TDA, Venezuelan drug cartel attacks on our citizens and territory? Is that not what's happening? This irregular chemical warfare against our nation has been going on for years. It doesn't need to be checked. We can only check it by sending police to Venezuela or suing Venezuela in a federal civil courtroom. What's wrong with you, John? He writes, our military and intelligence agents seek to prevent foreign attacks that might happen in the future, not to punish past conduct. What the F are you talking about? When we declared war on Japan, was it not for the attack that had already occurred on Pearl Harbor? What is wrong with you? If past attacks are not relevant to a decision to make use of our military forces, how would we ever know that they were necessary? You know a pretty good indication that someone's going to hit you a second time? They hit you the first time. A pretty good indication that Venezuela is going to continue relentlessly engaging in irregular chemical warfare against the United States is that they've been doing it, and it needs to stop, not to punish past conduct. What was the imminent attack that was going to follow the World Trade Center attack? Did we not respond with military forces? Should we not have, John? He continues to perform that anticipatory and protective function. We accept that our military and intelligence forces must act on probabilities, not certainties, to prevent threats that might never be realized. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We make reasonable inferences from what has occurred to project the risk of what might occur. And if the risk of what might occur is sufficiently damaging to American national security and national interest, we kill those people and we blow up their shit. What do you think we pay the military for? John writes, law enforcement, by contrast, punishes perpetrators for crimes that have already occurred. The U.S. has long considered drug trafficking a matter for the criminal justice system. All right, fair enough. We've been making that mistake for a long time. Does that mean we're bound to continue making it? Because we've had weak presidents who've treated this irregular chemical warfare on our population, on our fellow American citizens for year after year, decade after decade. That means we're locked into that response, that limited, ineffective, ineffectual response, treating it like a problem for the criminal justice system? I say no, John. That's stupid think. John writes, the difference in purpose dictates different tools. The FBI and the Drug Enforcement Administration, not the U.S. Armed Forces, have prime responsibility for interdicting drug smuggling. Why? You mean because that's how we've been doing it? How's that been working out, John? How's that been working out? The approach that we've been using seems not to be working all that well. Might it be reasonable to consider an alternative approach? A more forceful approach? By John's reasoning, the ineffective and ineffectual American response to irregular chemical warfare against our nation is the only one we can use because that's what we've been doing. He writes, the FBI and DEA seek to disrupt the operations of drug cartels with their traditional tools of law enforcement, collecting evidence, arresting suspects, imprisoning the guilty only after a trial, due process of law. Deadly force may be used only if necessary to defend the law enforcement agent or another person against an imminent threat of life. That's the difference between a law enforcement action and a military action to defend the national security and national interest of our nation. John, this is not a police problem. John would have sent the Los Angeles Police Department to talk to the Japanese who bombed Pearl Harbor. And I say all that. Again, I want to note, John Yoo's not actually an idiot. He's a really smart guy. But this is what TDS does to people. Trump has to be wrong. And they will twist reality into whatever pretzel shape they need to be able to make that emotional argument, no matter how incoherent and inconsistent it is with reality. $10. Thank you so much. Says, thank you, Andrew, for your legal coverage. I sure wish I had you for my lawyer. The 2 times I needed one, probably couldn't afford you. New member here. Well, guys, if you don't know, the way to get me as your lawyer, the only way to get me as your lawyer, is to be a member of my day job, which is this. Law of self-defense. I'm a consulting lawyer to other lead counsel who are representing clients in self-defense cases, defense of others, defense of property. We have almost 100% success rate in getting charges dismissed or acquittals at trial when we consult on a case. But the only cases I consult on are cases in which people are platinum members of our service, Law of Self-Defense. If you're not a platinum member, we can't take your consult. We just don't do it. To learn more about all of that, just go to lawofselfdefense.com. At the very least, go to lawofselfdefense.com/free book. We give away this book for free, folks. We only ask that you cover the shipping and handling. Now, the caveat there is I only do use of force law. So unless it's a case involving defense of yourself, your property, or your family, I'm not the lawyer for you. But within that realm, I am the nation's expert in that field of law.